So I see a few friends that have turned on their camera, and I super appreciate it because we need some people to play. If you are willing to play, please keep your camera on. And what I am going to ask, just because it will make it a little bit easier to play, is that you change your name so that it is your first name, your favorite food, a drink that you like, and a pet. It does not have to be a realistic pet. So I wrote Erica, tacos, coffee, and unicorn. And obviously, a unicorn is not a realistic pet. So all of those are there. I'm going to give everyone about 30 seconds to do that, and then we are going to get into this. And I promise that this game will be fun and useful. Once you have learned how to play it, it is very, very low prep, which is always very, very nice for very busy teachers. So this game, and I'm going to start talking as people finish up changing things, is called Bad Unicorn or Unicornio Malo because I'm a Spanish teacher. It can be translated to many languages. It can be done in all of the grade levels. And it is one of my students' one of my students' favorite games of all time. And I know that looks like a very innocent unicorn right there, but it is not an innocent unicorn. It is actually an unicornio malo, a very, very bad unicorn. So I am going to, first of all, I wanted to show you this. Every year at the end of the school year, my students grade me. And I have them tell me like what they liked, what they didn't like, what helped them learn a lot, all of these things. But I always ask them for their favorite Spanish activity. And you can see that most of my students put bad unicorn or unicornio malo or some version of that as their favorite activity of all time. And I just wanted to show you that I had over 200 students do this survey, and bad unicorn won by like 98%. So my students love it. It can be played with students of all ages. I have had high school teachers play bad unicorn with high school students just as it is, but I'm going to give you some modifications that you can
Está bien, está bien.
I'm going to give you some modifications that you can do so that you can, make it more or more mature for your older students if you want, though you really, really do not have to. Okay. We are going to play this game, and I am going to teach it to you as if you were my students and I was teaching you it the very, very first time I played. And the reason that I'm going to do it this way is because, sorry, I just want to make sure that I got the recording started. I think I did. The reason I'm going to do it this way is because when I've tried to explain this game to teachers in the past, there's so many levels to it that it gets really complicated. But once you play, like once, it will be easy. So I'm going to play it, and might stop for a few teacher timeouts. And then at the end, there will be time for questions and for me to break down some things and give you some pro tips about ways that will make your life easier and all of that. But we are going to play Bad Unicorn. And bear with me because I'm going to act like your elementary students just because that's how I act when I play this game. All right, here it is. All right, class. We have a unicorn. Everyone say hi, unicorn. I'll pretend you're elementary. Says, hi, unicorn. Oh, he's so cute. But class, this isn't a nice unicorn. This is a bad unicorn. In fact, this unicorn is bad all day, every day. He is so bad that he has to go to school every single day over break, all day, every day. And he doesn't want to go alone. So every night, he's going to sneak to one of your houses and try to do something really bad. And he's going to try to blame it on you. Now, if you are lucky, you might get saved. But if you are not, you are going to have to go to holiday school with the bad unicorn all holiday break. Now, teacher timeout. If you're playing with little kids, I make sure they know it's just a game. I have played as young as first grade, so they know that they're not really having a bad evil unicorn sneak to their house at night, and they're not really scared. So they know it's a game. Okay. And the way I set this up is all the students are sitting in a circle, and I'm walking around with the unicorn, telling them the story about the unicorn. He's so bad, and he always has to go to school for whatever break is next. So if it's holidays, it's a holiday break. If it's spring break, it's spring break. If it's summer break. Okay. Okay. So in this game, you're going to be one of 4 different people. You are either going to be the bad unicorn, and in a typical class of around 30 plus students, I have four of those, or the good monster, And the good monster, what the good monster does is they save people from the bad unicorn. Or you're going to be un detective, a detective, and try to figure out who the unicorn is, or you are a classmate. And as you can see on here, I'm going to move your pictures to the side. I've got 4 bad unicorns in a typical class, 2 good monsters, 4 detectives, and then everyone else's class. Now, I have all of these printed on cards, and I just go around and pass out the cards to students. And I write down on my little notepad who each of these roles is going to go to. So who the bad unicorn is, who the good monster is, who the detectives are, and then I don't bother writing the class. Okay. I know it sounds complicated, but once we get into it, I promise it will be easy. So every night, what's going to happen is I'm going to say the class goes to sleep. When the class goes to sleep, every single person is going to close their eyes. It doesn't matter if you are the class, if you are the good monster, if you are a detective, or if you are the unicorn, you're going to close your eyes. Then I'll say the bad unicorns wake up. The bad unicorns are going to look at each other, and without making a single sound, they are going to pick the una víctima, a victim. They're going to decide whose house they're going to go to. Sometimes they pick by pointing, sometimes they pick by rock, paper, scissors, sometimes they pick by, gesticulating, but there's no sound here. After they picked a victim, I will write it down on my notepad, and then I'll say the bad unicorns go to sleep. Bad unicorns sleep. Then I'll say the good monsters wake up. The good monsters are going to pick somebody to save, one random person somewhere in the group. If they happen to pick the same person the bad unicorns picked, that person will be safe. If they didn't, then that person is going to have to go to holiday school with the bad unicorn. Now, the good monsters can also save themselves. So sometimes it happens that the good monsters go back and forth and do a lot of self-saving, and that's okay. Then I'll say the good monsters go to sleep, and then everyone closes their eyes again, the monsters. Then I'll say the detectives wake up. At that point, the detectives open their eyes. They're going to try to figure out who a bad unicorn is. Again, without any sound, by pointing, by rock, paper, scissors, by gesticulating, by moving their hands around, any one of those ways. Once they've decided on one person, I will either give them thumbs up, yes, they've found a bad unicorn, or a thumbs down, no, they have not found a bad unicorn. So the detectives will know potentially who the unicorns are. Then I will say the detectives go to sleep. And finally, I will say the class wakes up. When the class wakes up, everyone opens their eyes. At that point, I will tell you whose house the unicorn went to. And then I will tell you what they did. And then we're going to try and figure out who the bad unicorn is. And I'm not going to give you any more instructions right now because it will get a little bit too complicated. But right now, bear with me for about 1 minute here. I'm going to, if you are on screen, I'm going to assume you are willing to play, and I'm going to private message a few different people and give them a role. So I'm going to have a couple of bad unicorns. I'm going to have a couple of good monsters. And trying to make sure I don't say their names out loud. And then I'm going to have a couple of detectives, detectives. Okay, give me just 1 minute. And if I message you and tell you that you are one of these characters, then please just private message me back so that I know you got your message. And Erin asked an excellent question. She said, is there a place to download the cards? Yes, there's a place to download the cards, and they are free. And I'm going to give you all of that at the end, along with a link to a very extensive blog post I wrote, so you don't have to remember everything. It's all written down for you already. Okay, so I'm going to give me just 1 minute to message a few people so I can get my my people in place. And if I send you a message, I'm just going to tell you a title. All of the things that I am saying out loud in English during this session are things I would be saying to my students in Spanish. Give me 1 minute. All right, I've sent out a couple, so be watching for your messages. Just give me a thumbs up on it when you get it, if you don't mind, so I know that everyone knows their role. Almost done. And in the class, when I'm doing this, sometimes I tell the students it's raining and they pound their feet and they make like a raining sound. It kind of like increases the tension and the excitement. And then I got to just tell my detectives and then I'm all done. And there's a couple of different ways you can assign roles, and I'm going to give those all to you at the end. So don't worry, I'm trying to make this as easy as possible for you. All right, one more detective to inform, and then we are off. By the way, with this smaller group, I'm only doing 2 of each role. Though I already gave you the numbers for the bigger groups. All right. My people are informed. I've got my detectives. I've got my good monsters. And I got my bad unicorns. Okay, here we go. Now we get to the fun part. In class, this is very exciting. In fact, if you start playing this game in class, what will happen is, at least happened in my class, is students started dressing as unicorns when they came to my class because they were hoping that we would play and they were hoping they would get picked as a unicorn if they dressed as one. And sometimes it worked. Okay, here we go. All right, the class goes to sleep. So all of you are at this point going to close your eyes. Everyone closing their eyes. All eyes should be closed. And I tell my students that teachers have special peeking powers, so they know if people are peeking. So it doesn't matter if you're a good unicorn or a bad unicorn, a good monster, a detective, or the class, your eyes are closed. So I'm just waiting for all the eyes to be closed. I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now, only because I want for you to be able to see each other. So only if you are a bad unicorn, the bad unicorns wake up. So bad unicorns only, open your eyes. So that should be 2 people. If you are a bad unicorn and your eyes are open, go ahead and wave at each other. Do you see each other, bad unicorns? I see. Yep, there we go. So bad unicorns, wave it one more time, or give yourself like a unicorn horn so they can see each other. There we go. There you go. Okay, so bad unicorns, I'm going to have you 2 and point, message, or you can message me. It's a little bit harder to play online. You're going to pick one person, the victima. Whose house are we going to go to tonight? Everyone else, keep your eyes closed. And bad unicorns, you can kind of go back and forth and messaging if you want, and then message me. If we were in class, they would just be gesticulating or moving their arms around. But bad, you can message me once you've decided who the victima is, and just be kind of quick. If you are the teacher, I always write down who they picked and who the bad unicorns are so you don't forget. Who is our first victim? All right, bad unicorns, turn in someone's name. It's okay. All right. Got it. Thank you, bad unicorns. Okay, the bad unicorns go to sleep. So only if you are a bad unicorn do you go to sleep. Okay, very good. Now the good monsters wake up. So if you are a good monster, wake up. I see one of them. So bad unicorns, eyes are closed. Good monsters, eyes are open. Okay, good monster. There we go. There's one. There's the other. Good monsters wave at each other. Good monsters, pick someone to save. You can kind of like write down names or like try to form names of their fingers or point, or you can just message me. Who are we going to save? There's no wrong answer. You can even save yourselves. All right. Thank you very much. Good monsters, you can go to sleep. The good monsters go to sleep. The detectives wake up. So detectives, good monsters, your eyes should be closed now, and detectives, go ahead and wake up. If you are a detective, wake up. I see one of my detectives waving. There we go. There's the other one, detectives. Who do you think is a bad unicorn? I know it's kind of random because we haven't gone through the game, but just look at them and see who looks unicorny and then send me a name, and I will tell you if you are right or not. Detectives, who do you think the bad unicorn is? And I would, in the target language, be going, ¿Quién es el unicornio? I would be throwing like, I would be trying to like hint it with certain people. Okay. Oh, okay. So I have someone who's saying they can't see their other person right now. Give me 1 minute. I'll get right back to you. Okay. I'm going to tell you, bad unicorn or detectives, you did not find a bad unicorn. So the person you guessed, not a bad unicorn. Okay. The detectives go to sleep and the class wakes up. So everyone may open their eyes now. I stopped screen sharing during that, specifically because I wanted to be able to, you to be able to see each other. If you make, someone asked, if you make your screen bigger, you should be able to see all of the people. That's why I stopped screen sharing during that part. Okay, so then I'm going to say, oops, class, last night, the bad unicorn went to the house of a girl. Everyone looks shocked. If I always give clues in class, so and I always try to give clues as to who the victim is before I reveal, because again, this is more input for the students to listen to. I try and give general clues, so they're clues that could lead to a few different people, but that's not going to definitely give it away. Class, the bad unicorn went to the house of a girl with short hair. And so you can be watching your students and see who's looking around. Who knows what you meant when you said short hair? Class, the bad unicorn went to the house of a person with no glasses, So again, if you've gone over this vocabulary, if this is vocabulary that's within your students, they already know, they're looking around, seeing who has glasses, who has short hair, who's a girl, and they're trying to figure out who it might be. And maybe they kind of start to get some guesses, but we don't know yet. Now, I'm projecting this for you because we're virtual, but if we were in person, I would be writing this on a board or projecting it with my ladybug. The bad unicorn always writes a letter to frame someone at the end. Okay, so we're going to find out whose house the bad unicorn went to right now. And I always like say this in a bad unicorn voice, and I write this as I say it. And students are so glued to every single word that I write because they're dying to find out where the bad unicorn went. So I would say, oh, I had a bad unicorn stuffed animal. I just dropped on the floor. Dear Mom and Dad, I love baseball. Now, no one has baseball as their thing that they like, but I created these stories ahead of time. If I had a little bit more time, I would make it personalized. So I would definitely make it to be something to do with the student. So like if the victim liked baseball, it would be about baseball. If they liked Star Wars, it would be about, using lightsabers. If they liked chocolate, it would be about eating all the mom's chocolate. I try and personalize the bad things the bad unicorn does. So the bad unicorn is writing this note. Dear Mom and Dad, I love baseball. That's his voice. Baseball is important. The big TV is not important. Windows are not important. Class, last night, the bad unicorn went to a kid's house and he played baseball for 7 hours and he broke 5 windows and the big TV. Now your students would all be like, oh my gosh. So then I say, you can buy new windows tomorrow. Love. And the kids are all seriously going to be hanging on this big reveal right now. Tressa. Oh, Tressa, I am so sorry, but unfortunately, the good monsters did not go to the right house last night. And so, Tressa, your parent woke up, they walked downstairs, they went to turn on the big TV, and they were like, oh, what happened to the big TV? What happened to my 5 windows? What's going on, Tressa? And they were so mad, and they said, Tressa, to holiday school. Now, at this point, Tressa, I'm really sorry, but Tressa would be out of the game. And I do have some things for kids to do when they get out, and I'll explain those at the end. But Tressa would be out of the game. And now we get to answer a really intriguing question, which is who is the bad unicorn? Now, I'm going to open it up. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a minute, but I'm going to take the first 3 accusations in the chat. So go ahead and chat me who you think the bad unicorn might be. And I'm going to take the first 3 accusations. It can be anyone. Obviously, we don't know who the bad unicorn is unless we're cheating at this point. But I will tell you, in a classroom of kids, everyone's hand will go up and they will all want to accuse everyone instantly. I tell my students that this is the only game they're allowed to lie in. And I only take 3 accusations because they will all want to accuse everyone. It will take way too long. So I have 3 accusations. Elizabeth, and don't give away if you're the bad unicorn or not for any of these. Lobster Nancy. I love that you wrote Lobster Nancy. That's so cute. And Aaron. Interesting. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and I do like the interrogation. In class, what that is I have each kid come up and then I ask them a bunch of questions about what they were doing last night. And for this part, again, I'm not going to share my screen. Actually, I'm going to share it for just 1 second so you can see what my students see. My students see this slide. Oops. Right here. Can you all see that slide? That is very weird. Let me try it one more time. Can you see the slide now?
It's loading. Yes.
Oh, okay. So I just wasn't patient enough was the problem. Okay, so my students would see this slide, and these are the questions that I kind of asked them about what they were doing if they were accused of being the unicorn. Okay, so these are kind of like the sentence stems, like where were you last night? I was in with who? Are you the bad unicorn? And my students know they are allowed to lie during this game. This is the only time they can lie. So they can say things like, I'm not the bad unicorn, I'm innocent, it's not fair, the bad unicorn is, any of those things are open for interpretation. You do not have to tell the truth during this part of the game. So Elizabeth, where are you at? Elizabeth, where were you last night?
I was eating tacos with my friends.
Eating tacos with your friends. Interesting. And with which friends? And pick someone that's here if you don't mind. Students always pick someone from the class.
With Anna and Rachel.
Anna, is that true? Was Elizabeth eating tacos with you last night? Where'd Anna go? Oh, I don't see Anna on the screen. Let's just pretend that she...
Ana baile, canta comido, eso.
I wonder if I'm... Oh, there. Ana, ¿es la verdad? ¿Estaba Elizabeth contigo anoche? Was Elizabeth with you last night? Yes or no? Give me thumbs up or thumbs down.
No.
Ooh, una mentira, a lie. Very interesting. Very interesting. Elizabeth, are you the bad unicorn?
No.
No. All right, Elizabeth says no. All right, keep those answers in your head. Now we're going to go ahead and talk to Nancy. Nancy, where were you last night?
I went to bed early.
Very convenient. Was there anyone else in the house that can verify that you were there?
No.
Oh, quite interesting. And Nancy, do you like baseball?
No, not really.
All right. Are you the bad unicorn?
No.
She says no. All right, very interesting. And let's go ahead and talk to Aaron. Aaron, where's Aaron on the screen? There you are. Where were you last night?
I was out walking my pet capybara.
Oh, a pet capybara. Very interesting. With whom? Who were you with?
Genevieve has a goat, so we were both walking our pets.
Genevieve, is that true? Were you walking your pet capybara and goat last night? Oh, they were. That's a good alibi. Just to be sure. Aaron, do you like baseball?
No, I'm not a sporty person. My
All
cat
right.
is one of them.
And are you the bad unicorn?
No.
Interesting. All right, class, now we must vote. We are going to vote that either Elizabeth, Nancy, or Aaron is the bad unicorn. Raise your hand if you think Elizabeth is the bad unicorn. Keep them nice and high. And then I would count in the target language. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I would go write it down on the board. Sometimes I forget the number. I forget. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ooh, 6. I see another number. Ooh, Elizabeth, not looking good. Nancy, raise your hand if you think Nancy was the bad unicorn. Oh, we got quite a few there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ocho. Ooh, Lobster Nancy. They're a little suspicious because you didn't have anyone to confirm your alibi, I think. And raise your hand if you think Aaron was the bad unicorn. Aaron of the capybara. 1. Interesting. I guess your capybara saved you. People must like the capybara. Okay. So at this point, I have the three kids at the front of the room, and I sometimes will pretend that I forgot the amount of votes they had so that the kids can shout at me the right answers in the target language. All right, so Erin, you are safe. She's just stepped away for a minute. She has to go out to her capybara, but she'll be right back because she only got 1 vote. Elizabeth, you are also safe. You're still in the game because you got 6 votes, so you are safe. You are still in. And then Nancy, I am so sorry, but the class is certain that you are the bad unicorn. Nancy, at this point, you need to go ahead and tell us the truth. Are you the bad unicorn?
No,
No, what were you, Nancy?
detective.
A detective! Oh no, how sad, class K3 say. All right, and at that point, Nancy would be out too. And again, in a minute, I'll explain what my kids who are out do. And then the whole thing starts over. We're going to play one more really kind of lightning round, just because I want to make sure you see how it goes after you've got a little bit under your belt. And then I'm going to answer all of the questions and kind of give you the pro tips. So we're going to go one more round, and then I would just go back to the very beginning. And I'm going to stop sharing so you can see each other. As soon as I find my Zoom control, which seems to like disappear whenever I want it to be there. All right, am I sharing right now? Okay, good. Sorry. It goes back and forth sometimes with this one and then I forget. Okay. The class, so everyone keeps their same roles. The class goes to sleep. So everyone closes their eyes. The bad unicorns wake up. So right now, only my bad unicorns should have their eyes open. Only the bad unicorns. Thank you for those of you that are coming. A few people have to go a little early, should have their eyes open. So if you are a bad unicorn. Oh, someone asked if I can do it in Spanish. I will do it in Spanish this time. Is there anyone that it would be, the reason I was doing it is in English because I didn't want to assume that everyone speaks Spanish. Is there anyone that it would be really hard for them to hear in Spanish? Message me privately if you want me to not do it in Spanish. All right. La clase se duerme. The class goes to sleep. El unicornio se levanta. I'm just going to do it in Spanish and English so I make sure everyone's covered. So the unicorns wake up. So only my unicorns should have their eyes open. Unicorns, really quickly message me a victim, though in real life, the unicorns will be communicating and pointing at each other and trying to figure out who the victim is. Who is the victim? Okay, got it. The el unicornio malo se duerme. The unicorn goes to sleep. El monstruo bueno se levanta. The good monster wakes up. So good monster, el monstruo bueno, ¿a quién va a salvo? Who are you going to save? ¿Quién va a salvo? All right, the good monsters go to sleep. El monstruo bueno se duerme. El detective se levanta. Detectives wake up. Detectives, ¿quién es? El unicornio malo. Who is the bad unicorn? Give me a name. Okay, detective, look at me. Detective, look at me. Okay. Los detectives se duermen. The detectives go to sleep. La clase se levanta. The class wakes up. Okay. Let me get my screen. Well, I don't have to do it quite yet. Class. Last night. Oh, I'm sorry. Clase. Anoche. Last night. El unicornio malo fue a la casa de una chica. Last night, the bad unicorn went to the house of a girl. Everyone in school class would be like, oh, it's not very shocking here, but they would be in class. Clase. La chica tiene pelo largo. The girl has long hair. Clase. La chica no tiene lentes. The girl does not have glasses. Interesante. Clase. Anoche, el unicornio malo, the bad unicorn, brought, and for this, I would have props in class because some of this gets a little out of bounds for my younger kids. 100 perros, dogs, en la casa. Los perros se hicieron popó. They pooped a lot. Y comieron toda la comida. They all of the food. ¡Qué asco! How gross! Oh, how gross! The bad unicorn wrote a note. Escribió una carta. He wrote a note. Sorry, I'm going to try and do this without like blowing the surprise of whose name is at the bottom of this note. Get my Zoom skills back up to par. Okay. Dear Mom and Dad, querido mamá y papá, me encantan los perros. I love dogs. Dogs are fun. They don't eat a lot. No comen mucho. You can clean up the popo tomorrow. You can clean up the poop tomorrow. All of that would be in Spanish. Love, Shirley. Shirley, and I spelled your name wrong, sorry, that was going quick. But Shirley, good news, buenas noticias. You are so lucky because the good monsters, yes, they went to the right house. They went to the right house and they saved you. So it's awesome because the monsters went and they saved Shirley and they filled up the kitchen and they cleaned up all the mess and they got rid of the note. And so when Shirley's caretakers woke up, there was no note and Shirley is still in the game. And everyone would be really excited about that, except for the monsters. I've actually had a monster when playing this game yell, no, when that happened, and they gave themselves away. It was really funny. Okay, so we're going to go on. Class, who is the bad unicorn? Go ahead and give me 3 quick nominations. Now, question, we only have 10 minutes left. Do you want to go through that whole process again, or do you want to go on to the questions and answers? What's the best for the teachers? Go through it? Oh, I'm getting some Q&A. Okay, I'm just going to quickly review. What would then happen is I would have we would go over, I would have the class nominate 3 people. And of those 3 people, I would ask them where they were last night, who they were with, and I'm going to share my screen again. I would ask them where they were at last night, who they were with, if they're the bad unicorn. And then after I've interrogated the 3 of them, and they know I'm kidding around, we have a very fun atmosphere in the class. The class will vote. We'll vote one person out, and then they're out. And then we keep going. Now, games can run multiple classes with older kids. I have found with my younger students, and I'm talking 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and even 1st graders, and the 1st graders only played because they begged to play because the 2nd graders told them how much fun and half of them already knew how to play already. So if you are playing with students who do not have a lot of ability to keep secrets, I would recommend that you make the games last only 1 class. However, If your students are good at keeping secrets, if they're a little older, you don't need to do that. One way to really up the intensity is I like to add this little, hear it? I just YouTube spooky fantasy music. And that plays in the background the whole time we play, like while the unicorns are picking. Oh my gosh, it ups the intensity by like a million. The kids love it. I play this game right before breaks, and it is both the quietest and the loudest that my classes ever are, because they're just dying to like hear someone move or figure something out. And the music adds a lot. This is just, I literally typed in spooky fantasy music on YouTube, and this is what I got. How to assign roles. So you can do the cards, and I'm going to give you the website, and you can just download the cards I made. And if you need to change a language, just change a language. You have my permission. Annabelle Allen, or La Maestra Loca, was playing this game, and she was like, what I do is head taps. So what head taps are is she has the kids say, she says, it's raining, but in the target language, and they all pound their feet. And then she says, okay, if I tap your head now, you're a bad unicorn. She walks around and taps her heads. If I tap your head now, you're a good monster. If I tap your head now, you're a detective. Now, the problem obviously is that some kids may peek, but that's a problem at any point in this game. So it's really up to you if you want to use the cards or the head taps. Obviously, I did it through chat. It doesn't work quite as well, but it's still a pretty fun game. Rihanna, hi Rihanna, says that she uses soothing nighttime forest sounds. That's another perfect one to use. So detectives, sometimes people get confused. They say, what's the point of the detectives? What happens if they know who a bad unicorn is? Well, when it comes to the time where I say, who do you think the bad unicorn is? A detective could raise their hand and they could say, I'm a detective. And oh, by the way, Kristen and Rachel, thank you, Kristen and Rachel, they were bad unicorns. And Kristen is a bad unicorn, right? So they could totally say that. However, if you're a detective and you raise your hand and say, I'm a detective and Kristen's a bad unicorn, the bad unicorns are probably going to come after you in the next round. Also, Kristen, who is one of the bad unicorns, or Rachel, who is one of the bad unicorns, could raise their hand and say, I'm a detective, and Nancy's a bad unicorn, because lying is allowed in this game. Now, what this does is it makes everyone listen to each other really, really carefully. My students listen to each other so carefully during this game, and they really stretch to use the language in creative ways because it's fun for them. So the detectives can also just try to convince everyone else that they really think that, you know, Kristen or Rachel is the bad unicorn without saying that they're the detective, but that's kind of their sneaky role. I do not announce to the group if these are just the questions I usually get. I do not announce to the group if the detectives find a unicorn. It's up to the detectives what they want to do with that information. And what do I do for the kids who are out? Sometimes I have them draw the crime that the unicorn is doing, and then you can take that drawing and you can talk about it the next day, or you can have like a book of unicorn crimes. And for higher level students, you can have them write out what the unicorn did too. Another good thing to have them do is be the peeking police. They walk around and make sure nobody's peeking. They also help me count the votes, and they keep track of the votes. So there's all sorts of jobs. Other people sometimes will have roles where they can come back in, but that's like a whole other level of complication we're not going to go into tonight. You can also, the exciting thing about being out is that you can also keep your eyes open the whole time, and they really love watching the game and seeing, oh, that's the bad unicorn, and all of those like last minute giveaways. So some extension activities are reviewing the unicorn crimes. And if you have your people who are out drawing them, like putting that on the board for the next day for them to see is really fun. Or you could even throw them into a book for the kids to look at, or they could look at other classes' crimes. You could predict their next act of evil. Sometimes I have students, because I want to come up with more creative ideas for the game, I say, write me down a list of 10 things you think the bad unicorn could do. So I have the students generate more lists for me, so I'm not trying to come up with those on my own. Or sometimes I forget things in the game, and I have the students correct me in the target language because it's a good, again, critical thinking thing. These are some pro tips. Suspenseful background music. I already told you that one. Sometimes it's fun to project an image of what the bad unicorn did on the screen. That's another thing you can do. I didn't have time to personalize because we were far away, but when I had you write your name and your favorite food, your favorite animal, your favorite drink, I will oftentimes use those to help me come up with stories for the bad unicorn. But any chance I get, I personalize the stories so that they match the kids. and it helps to build class community and help to get the kids to know each other. I actually have student surveys I do at the start of the year, and I keep those all year. So that way, if like I couldn't remember that Erin had a pet capybara, I could really quickly pull her survey and be like, oh, capybara, that's what her story is going to be about. So having those student surveys kind of helps the game run more smoothly. Have your students pre-plan some stories for the unicorn so you don't have to come up with all of them. Change up the vocabulary. What the unicorn does and how you describe the person can be totally different from one game to the next, and it can cover whatever it is you need to cover. And then finally, I always keep a sheet with all of the, like, who's the bad unicorn and everything on top of it. But then I also keep a cover sheet on top of that, because I walk around the classroom with my clipboard and I sometimes set it down and students will peek given the chance. So I keep a cover sheet over my teacher cheat sheet. And have fun. There is a lot, and I'm about to let you open it up to any questions you have. There is a lot to learn initially, but once you've played it a time or two, it's so easy and there's no prep to it. A few years ago, a student who was out made one of these diagrams, and then she started filling it out when I did the interrogations. So she wrote down the person's name, where they said they were at, who they said they were with, whether or not they liked the thing the unicorn did, and whether or not they said they were the unicorn. And she was using this sheet to try to figure out who the unicorn was, which I thought was pretty cool. So that could be another thing kids could do if they get out. And finally, Martina Bax first made this game into something called Mafia, where mafia members who try to take out townspeople are like the bad unicorns. And I changed it. This is Martina in the picture here. I changed it to bad unicorn so I could play it elementary, but Mafia is a more adult version or older version of the game. If your students are really mature and you feel like you need something more. Diane Neubauer has one that's Mandarin Chinese specific called Monkeys, or the Monkey King, that she adapted that you could grab if you teach Mandarin. Greg Gross has like another level game called Werewolf that you can play. That's another similar role-playing game if you want something new but similar. And then finally, right here, and I'm going to go ahead and throw it in the chat. I was going to try to throw it in the chat. That is my website. And that, if you go into the search bar on my website, you can find the whole blog with everything Bad Unicorn and the cards and the whole explanation, all free. There's no charges for any of that. What questions do you have? I talked a lot. I hope it wasn't too much. And you can type them up or you can just speak up if you have questions. And if you don't, I really appreciate you spending some time with me, and I hope this was helpful.
I'm wondering like how long this usually takes you.
So
Or does it just kind of depend?
it totally depends. My elementary classes were 36 minutes each. And once I had taught them the game, I could get through 2 or 3 rounds in a class, depending upon how excited the kids were. So that's how long we would take it, and we would just reveal the answers at the end. I know some teachers would stretch it out over several classes very successfully, but again, that just depends upon the age and maturity of your students. Anyone else?
Thank you.
No problem.
How do you teach your students the game? How much time do you spend teaching them, running them through the rules? Do you just talk them through it the first time in English, or do you kind of just sort of help them through in Spanish? How do you run that?
So the first time is kind of, oh, it says request access to cards and materials. Erin, I will look at that and fix that tonight. I don't know why that's something that's outdated, but you should definitely have access to that. The question, sorry, okay. So when I first explained the game to my students, because I play it with my 3rd graders, which they've had me, my 2nd graders, they've had me for 3 years. So I do a mix of Spanish and English, very similar to the way I did it when I started today. I say, class A, I'm just gonna grab my unicorn. Un unicornio, and I show them the unicornio. And my students already know the words un unicornio malo, muy malo. So the first time I play is a mix of Spanish and English. If it's words that I'm sure we all are on board with, I say it in Spanish. If it's words that I think that maybe they are a little bit out of bounds for some students, I'll say it in Spanish and English, like I did the second round. But then very quickly, like once you've done 1 or 2 rounds, all of the English is gone and they get really, really good at the Spanish and coming up with really creative answers. It really pushes them kind of to the next level with their speaking, or that's what I found.
I have a question. How many students is this good for? I mean, is it I have classes that are 35.
I've
And-
played it with 36 kids before,
Okay.
and elementary kids. So
Yeah, this is high school, so they could probably handle it.
yeah, I would think they could.
Thank you.
These slides, I can make them available. They're not available right now, Erin, but I can make them available. So I will make them into a share version tonight. I don't think there's anything on there that's private, but I just have to look through them. Erin just asked if I could share the slides, and yes, I can.
I tried to do Mafia, the version Mafia. I was
Mhm.
just curious, like, how do you pre-teach some of this stuff? Because for me, like, it's beginner level, it's middle school, but it's beginner level. And I just struggled to find a way to get them to follow the story and follow the game in the target language. So do you do any pre-teaching?
And so what year? I know you said middle school, but what year? Like what year in their language? Like, is it year 1, year 2? How many years have they been studying the language?
Well, we don't have it every day, so it's basically level 1.
Okay, so I would probably, if it was with level 1 students, I wouldn't start this till later in the year, so you had some basic vocabulary, but you can change it to a version where you do most of the narrating and you just have kids say see or no. So that's what I would try to like modify. Like I can't, it's 7:17, so I can't give a super long answer, but if you modify it to be like super basic and you don't have to do the whole interrogation, like you could just say, are you the bad unicorn? Yes or no. And just keep it very, very basic at first. And if you think they're struggling, I would do the double talk. It's what I do with kindergartners and pre-literate students, where you say it in the target language and in English just at first. And then you just let the English fall away as the kids get more confident. And it will happen very quickly because they'll be super interested in the game. If you couldn't, someone says, how small is the class? Is too small. I have played this game with like 7 people and it's still been super fun. So you can still play it with small groups and have it be really fun. Tressa asks, how many victims? The unicorns choose 1 victim every round. You could definitely play this with 8 to 14 kids. I will send out the slides. And if you didn't get through the whole session, I did record it. So eventually the recording will be available to everyone as well. I hope this was helpful. You can email me. I'm super happy to help if you have any questions. My blog has a really long explanation. I'm going to see what's going on with the cards, so you can download the cards for free too. But I hope you enjoy this game and have as much fun with it as I do. And I hope this takes something off your plate, because once you learn how to play, it's really, really easy. No prep for you. Have the best night and the best rest of your year. And please reach out if I can help you in any way.